Corporal Jalen Cross stood on the outskirts of Vale Thoris's central compound, his arms crossed and eyes scanning the alien landscape before him. His tough, no-nonsense demeanor was in stark contrast to the world around him, a world steeped in mystery, beauty, and danger. The planet was unlike any he'd ever seen, a testament to the creativity and resilience of both humanity and the long-lost civilizations it now explored. As an engineer, Jalen's skills were grounded in practicality, in mechanics, in fixing what was broken. But on Vale Thoris, his skills had found a new purpose: to bridge the gap between humans and the alien scholars who called this world home. Despite his straightforward nature, Jalen had earned the respect of those around him. Though he wasn't a diplomat, his ability to get the job done without unnecessary fanfare had made him invaluable. He wasn't just a soldier, he was proof that humans could contribute more than just their military might to the galaxy. As he worked on a delicate repair in one of the base's outlying structures, his thoughts drifted to the future. Could humanity, with all its flaws and drive, ever truly fit in among the stars? His thoughts were interrupted by a quiet murmur from one of the alien scholars who was observing him from a distance. Jalen nodded, acknowledging the silent respect. His work was more than just fixing machines. It was an assertion of humanity's ability to adapt, to overcome, to contribute. Vale Thoris lay under an ominous sky, its once great cities now reduced to rubble. The wind whipped through ancient stone ruins, carrying with it the scent of dust and forgotten history. To most, the planet seemed like a graveyard, a place of lost knowledge and untold secrets. But to the alien scholars who had settled here, it was something more, a sacred site, brimming with both danger and promise. The heart of the planet's mystery lay within the Temple of Varnak, a towering structure of weathered stone that seemed to pulse with an ancient energy. Deep inside the temple, embedded in a massive block of obsidian, rested a sword, a weapon of unimaginable power, said to hold the fate of the galaxy within its blade. It was not just a weapon, but a symbol of a lost civilization's final hope. The sword was rumored to grant extraordinary abilities to the one who could wield it, yet only the worthy one, an individual chosen by the stars themselves, could ever hope to remove it from the stone. The alien scholars had long believed that the sword would herald a new age for their people, a savior who would unite the fractured species of Vale Thoris. To them, it was not just a relic, it was their destiny. Humanity, on the other hand, could only observe from the sidelines, excluded from the sacred rites surrounding the artifact. The tension was palpable as Jalen crossed the threshold of the Temple of Varnak, his boots echoing off the ancient stone. The alien scholars were already gathered around, their eyes fixed on the sword. Jalen was a foreign presence here, an outsider in a sacred space. He could feel the weight of their gazes, the unspoken rule that humans were never to touch the sword. It was a deeply ingrained part of their culture, a belief that the artifact was too powerful, too sacred to fall into human hands. But Jalen wasn't here to challenge the alien beliefs. He was here to work, to observe, and to learn. He respected their traditions, even if he didn't fully understand them. Still, there was an undeniable pull in the air, an unspoken question that lingered. What if the sword could be used for something greater, something that humanity could benefit from? Jalen's frustration grew as he watched the alien scholars bow before the sword, whispering ancient prayers in their strange tongue. There was a sense of helplessness in his chest, Could humanity ever truly fit into this complex world of alien customs? Would they forever be seen as outsiders, incapable of understanding what was sacred? As Jalen stepped back, a low hum reverberated from the sword. His instincts tingled, warning him that something was about to shift, but he didn't know how. Only that the world around him was about to change. Without warning, the ground beneath Jalen's feet rumbled. A low tremor reverberated through the temple, sending dust and debris cascading from the ancient stone walls. The alien scholars around him panicked, scrambling for cover as the tremor escalated into a full-blown quake. The structure of the temple groaned, as if the ancient stones themselves were protesting the violence of the shaking dot. Jalen acted without hesitation. His military training kicked in, and he dove into action, directing the alien engineers to secure the temple's supports. The walls cracked and shifted as Jalen moved, his hands steady as he assessed the damage. There was no time to waste. The temple's collapse was imminent, unless something was done. With tools in hand, Jalen moved toward one of the central support beams. His thoughts raced. He wasn't sure if he could hold the temple together, but he knew it had to be done. The lives of the scholars, the engineers, and the humans on the planet depended on it. As he worked to stabilize the beams, Jalen felt the pressure building. If he failed, the temple would fall, and everything they'd worked for would be lost. His mind raced as he navigated the chaotic landscape around him, calculating risks and making decisions on the fly. Each move was a calculated risk, and with each moment that passed, the danger grew. But Jalen couldn't stop. He had to keep going. As the tremors continued to rattle the temple, Jalen's attention was drawn back to the sword. It glowed faintly, a low hum emanating from the stone, as though it had been awakened by the quaking earth. His instinct screamed at him, not to touch it, not to interfere with the sacred artifact. But in that moment, as the structure threatened to collapse around him, Jalen realized that no one else would be able to save them. The only way to stabilize the temple, the only way to truly ensure everyone's survival, was to interact with the sword itself. The idea was unthinkable, a breach of the sacred taboo. Yet as the walls cracked and the ground beneath them continued to shake, Jalen's choice became clear. He approached the sword, his heart pounding in his chest. The scholars watched in stunned silence, their faces filled with disbelief. The weight of their culture pressed down on him as he reached for the hilt of the sword, his fingers brushing against the cold stone. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a force like none he had ever felt surged through him, shaking him to his core. The sword was alive, and it was responding to his touch. Jalen's breath caught in his throat. This was it, the moment that would change everything. The ground beneath Valtharis quakes, sending tremors through the ancient temple. Dust fills the air, and the once silent planet now hums with an eerie vibration, as though the world itself is waking from an age-old slumber. The celestial vault above, the same one that had shielded this forgotten planet for eons, cracks open with an unsettling groan. Inside the temple of Varnak, the once static mechanism stirs, its ancient gears creaking into life. With a grinding of stone and metal, the colossal pillars shake, threatening to bring the entire structure crashing down. The air, thick with dust and panic, smells like ozone and decay. The alien scholars scramble, but their efforts to stabilize the room seem futile. Their corporal Jalen Cross stands still, his eyes narrowing with focus. The chaos around him doesn't cloud his mind. As an engineer, his brain races through every possible solution. It's then that he realizes the pedestal, the heart of the temple, holds the key. It is more than just a structure to house the sword. It's a complex mechanism tied to the ancient systems of Valtharis. Jalen's mind moves faster than his body, calculating the risks. The artifact may be the center of a religious belief, but it's also a ticking time bomb. He knows that disturbing the pedestal may trigger a disaster far worse than the tremors, but the tremors are already here. His hand tightens around his tool belt. Time is running out. The chamber trembles violently, its foundations groaning under the strain of the seismic onslaught. Jalen's instincts scream for action, but every step toward the pedestal feels like an affront to centuries of tradition. The scholars, their faces pale with dread, mutter in panic, their eyes locked on the pedestal with reverence. Jalen glances at the alien elders, their desperate cries ringing in his ears. They can't save the temple, they can't stop the destruction, but Jalen can, if only he dares. He moves toward the pedestal, his heart racing. The weight of the room's history presses on his chest. Every alien in the room watches him, their disbelief palpable. His mind flashes to the stories they've told him, how the sword could only be lifted by the worthy one, an individual destined by prophecy. Jalen wasn't the one, he wasn't supposed to be. Jalen glances at the alien elders, their desperate cries ringing in his ears. They can't save the temple, they can't stop the destruction, but Jalen can, if only he dares. He moves toward the pedestal, his heart racing. The weight of the room's history presses on his chest. Every alien in the room watches him, their disbelief palpable. His mind flashes to the stories they've told him, how the sword could only be lifted by the worthy one, an individual destined by prophecy. Jalen wasn't the one, he wasn't supposed to be. But the tremors increase, the stone walls splintering around them. There's no time for tradition now. Jalen places his hand on the pedestal. The air hums with a low vibrating pulse. His fingers tremble, but he presses on, without warning. The sword lifts from the stone. The hum grows into a resonant roar, a shockwave of power rippling through the room. In that moment, Jalen isn't a soldier or an engineer. He's something greater. He's the only chance for survival. Jalen doesn't understand it. He doesn't know how or why. But the sword lifts easily in his hands, as though the ancient artifact were made for him. His breath catches, the weight of the impossible act settling in his chest. The sword had been the center of the Valfari culture, their sacred belief, their prophecy. The act of lifting it was a divine impossibility. The air around him crackles with energy, and the scholars stand frozen, staring at Jalen with a mixture of awe and horror. The tremors subside as if the temple itself has exhaled. The silence that follows is deafening. The ground is still, the walls now intact, but the room is thick with unspoken words. The alien scholars, once so sure of their sacred myths, now find themselves questioning everything. Was Jalen the worthy one they had been waiting for, or was this act something far more significant than any prophecy? Jalen stands sword in hand, heart pounding. The impossible has just happened, and he has no idea what comes next. Galactic reaction. News spreads across the stars. News of the event spreads like wildfire, reaching every corner of the galaxy. Factions and species of all kinds react to the news, some with fury, others with wonder. The Valfari, whose sacred traditions had been shattered in one human act, are torn between rage and disbelief. To lift the sword was an affront to their entire belief system. Jalen had defied them, violated their deepest convictions. But beyond the borders of Valfari, the news is met with stunned silence. Many in the galactic community are questioning the implications. Was this the beginning of a new era, a new champion in the galaxy? Or had the entire myth of the worthy one been a lie? For the first time, humanity isn't the underdog in the galactic arena. A human, a mere engineer, has done what no other species could even comprehend, and that's a problem. Across the stars, scholars and diplomats debate what Jalen's actions mean for the galaxy. Some see it as a sign of humanity's true potential, something greater than anyone had imagined. Others view it as a challenge, a stark reminder that humanity's ingenuity might be too dangerous for the galaxy to handle. Jalen quote, "Edge days of anonymity are over. The moment he lifted the sword,
The galaxy saw him not as an engineer, but as something else. A symbol of humanity's potential. No longer the primitive species, Earth is now seen as a rising force in the galaxy. The chosen race, who could break the laws of myth and destiny. But Jalen isn't ready for this. He never wanted fame, or to be a hero. He's just a soldier, a worker, a man trying to survive. But now his name is known across the stars, whispered in awe and fear. The weight of this new role presses heavily on his shoulder. He didn't ask for this. He doesn't want to be the galaxy's savior. Back on Valfari, he stares at the sword, now lying dormant in his hands. What happens next? How does he carry this burden? Humanity may now be seen as a race capable of achieving the impossible. But Jalen knows this is a dangerous path. He doesn't trust easy victories, and the galaxy's admiration feels like a mask. A mask that could turn into something much darker, much sooner than anyone realizes. Jalen must decide what he stands for, what it means to be human, in a universe where nothing is as it seems. And soon he'll have to decide if he can live with the consequences of his actions. The dense air of Valfaris presses down on Jalen as he walks deeper into the bowels of the planet. The cradle of flame awaits him, a secret forgotten place where the very essence of the universe seems to twist and warp. The heat is intense, like the breath of a dormant beast. Every step echoes in the silence, as if the planet itself is holding its breath. As Jalen approaches the entrance to the trial ground, his mind begins to race. This is it. This is where it all changes. The sword is still at his side, a constant reminder of the burden he carries. He grips the hilt tighter, feeling its cool weight, knowing what it represents. Not just a weapon, but a symbol of his uncertain destiny. The path before him seems endless, and the air grows thick, almost alive, as if the planet itself is watching him. The cradle of flame is more than a trial. It is a living entity, a test of his will, his spirit, and his very soul. Suddenly, the ground beneath Jalen shifts, and the world around him fades into an intense light. He is thrust into visions haunting images from his past, moments of triumph, and deep, painful regrets. He sees himself back on Earth, a simple engineer, wondering what it would have been like if he had never picked up that sword, if he had never stepped into this web of destiny. The vision shifts. A voice, his voice, rings out, asking him to choose. A family member, close to him, lies in danger. Should he sacrifice himself to save them, or let them go for the greater good? Every option is fraught with loss, and Jalen feels the crushing weight of the decision. Each test isn't physical, it's moral. What kind of man am I? He is forced to confront the parts of himself he wishes to forget. This isn't just about the sword or the trial, it's about who he is, and what he is willing to become. The choices he makes here could destroy everything he holds dear. The visions subside, and the world around Jalen starts to shift again. The sword calls to him, but not with a voice of power or war. It speaks to him through his heart. Its power isn't in domination, but in protection. This is what it was always meant to be. Jalen's heart races as the sword's true purpose unfurls before him. This is no tool of conquest. It's a weapon of selflessness, a beacon for those who cannot protect themselves. The realization hits him like a wave. He has been chosen
not for his strength, but for his heart.
He isn't here to destroy, but to defend.
He feels the energy of the planet surge through him as the sword grows warm in his hands. It isn't just the weapon that is powerful, it is the purpose behind it that holds the true strength. He's ready to accept this path, if only he can fully embrace what it demands of him. In the final chamber, the air is thick with power. The sword lies before him, pulsing with an almost sentient energy. The trial ends now, and he faces the ultimate decision. Before him, two paths appear, one leading away from the sword towards his old simple life, the other leading deeper into the ancient heart of the planet, where he would become something far more than human, a guardian, a protector of this ancient flame. The voice of the trial echoes through the chamber. To accept the sword is to accept the weight of eternal responsibility. You will no longer be Jalen. You will become Vile Shah, the guardian of Vile, Tharis. Jalen, Sace heart pounds. To take up the sword is to become something eternal, something beyond what any man should bear. But to refuse it would mean abandoning the galaxy's last hope for peace. He takes a deep breath, realizing there is no turning back. The future of humanity and the galaxy rests in his hands. Jalen, Sace grip tightens on the hilt as the sword hums with ancient power. The ground trembles beneath his feet as light floods the chamber, and a surge of energy courses through him. He feels the planet's core alive within him, and his mind connects to the very history of Vile, Tharis. He, Sace, no longer just a man. He is something greater. The power of the sword flows through his veins, awakening something deep inside. He understands the planet now, its people, its past, and its future. The pulse of the sword and the planet are one. He is bound to it forever. Across Vile Tharis, streams of light burst from the ancient towers, rising high into the sky. The planet responds to Jalen's acceptance. He is no longer just a human. He is Vile Shah, the guardian of the flame. The ancient prophecy has come to fruition. News spreads across the galaxy like wildfire. Alien factions, once bitterly divided, now look upon Jalen as a symbol of hope and unity. The war-hungry and the peaceful alike turn their eyes toward Earth. And for the first time in a long time, the galaxy sees humanity not as a mere bystander, but as a force for change. Jalen, the reluctant hero, now stands as the key to humanity's future. The galaxy watches as his rise marks the dawn of a new era. The weight of the galaxy's future is on his shoulders, and he stands ready, not with a sword of war, but a sword of peace. The universe holds its breath as it awaits the next move of this unlikely hero. The dust of the battlefield settles, and silence descends over the vast, charred plains of Vile Tharis. The sword, its gleaming blade still untouched by blood, hums softly, as if it carries a will of its own, unmovable, unyielding. The planet's ancient power pulses through the ground, a subtle reminder that true strength cannot be seized. It can only be followed. Across the landscape, the alien factions, once so eager to control the sword, stand down. They lower their weapons, stunned by the planet's immense will. The sword had denied their claims, rejecting their power grabs. It would not be controlled, not by force, not by manipulation. They had forgotten one critical truth: the sword answers to no one but the worthy. As the factions concedes, a wave of realization sweeps over them. The battle for the sword had been futile. The planet itself had intervened, making their desires irrelevant. A bitter humbling washes over each of them as they accept the truth: the sword does not belong to them. The planet had chosen its path, and nothing they did could change it. The factions retreat, their former ambition now overshadowed by the recognition of their own insignificance. The political chaos that had once defined the galaxy begins to subside, but in its place, something else rises, a shift in understanding. The galaxy is not the same as it was yesterday. Something new is beginning to take form. In the halls of alien academia, the once firmly held beliefs of ancient prophecies are rewritten. Scholars, humbled and awestruck, turn their pens to paper, revising their texts. The prophecy that foretold of a worthy one now carries a new meaning. No longer bound by race or species, the prophecy speaks of the worth that burns within the heart. The galaxy begins to look at Jalen, not as an anomaly, but as a model for greatness. The idea that the worth of an individual lies not in their physical form, but in the purity of their actions spreads.
Alien civilizations, once skeptical of humanity's potential, now see the truth. Greatness is not about power, it is about selflessness, compassion, and sacrifice. Jalen's actions, their sacrifice, their devotion to others become a paradigm of selfless leadership. Alien species begin to see that humanity's greatest strength lies in its heart, in its willingness to fight, not for conquest, but for protection. Jalen's actions spark a paradigm shift, and what was once considered a weakness, human empathy, becomes their greatest strength. The galaxy shifts its gaze, now viewing humanity with respect and admiration. The world's perception of what makes someone worthy has been forever altered. What the aliens once dismissed as naive is now understood as the path to true greatness. Jalen stands on the precipice of his transformation. The weight of the sword, now more than just an artifact, rests heavily upon his shoulders. No longer is he just an engineer. He is a symbol, a beacon of strength, diplomacy, and unity. The mantle of the Guardian does not sit comfortably on his shoulders, but it is one he can no longer deny. The transformation is a quiet storm within him. He never asked for this role. He never sought to be a hero. Yet, here he is, a figure of immense responsibility. His internal struggle is palpable. Jalen's doubts echo in the stillness of his mind. Can he truly live up to the weight of this legacy? He was once just an engineer, working with his hands, solving problems. Now he is expected to solve much more: intergalactic issues, the balance of power, and the fate of entire civilizations. Jalen's acceptance is not easy. His transformation from reluctant engineer to the Guardian is not just physical, it's a deep spiritual awakening. Yet, despite his doubt, he knows one thing: he cannot walk away. The sword, the planet, the galaxy, they all call to him. His path has been set, and it is one he must follow, whether he desires it or not. His new identity is not a simple one. He is not just a man anymore. He is a symbol. The weight of his new role pushes against him, but he embraces it. He is no longer just Jalen the engineer. He is Jalen the Guardian, the one who stands between peace and chaos, between the future and the past. Jalen is not a conqueror. He never sought to be one. Nijan spoke to be one. Instead, he dedicates himself to something far greater, teaching others, humans and aliens alike, to be defenders, not conquerors. His teachings spread across the galaxy like wildfire. His philosophy is simple: strength is not in dominance, but in defense, protection, and mutual respect. Jalen's mission is a daunting one. He travels to distant worlds, meeting with alien leaders, teaching them the value of peace over war, cooperation over conquest. Some welcome him, while others resist. Yet, despite the challenges, Jalen presses on. His heart, fueled by the lessons of the sword, guides him. The ripple effect of his teaching spreads. What started as a small idea begins to take hold. Factions that once saw humanity as a threat now begin to see the value in their perspective. Slowly, alliances form, alliances based not on military might, but on shared ideals of peace, strength, and protection. Jalen's new role becomes a beacon for others. His teachings form the foundation of a new order, one where the strength of the galaxy is not measured in weapons or wealth, but in the ability to protect the vulnerable. The universe is changing, and Jalen is at the heart of it. The galaxy now sees Earth and its people not as primitive or savage, but as protectors, guardians in their own right. The ancient purpose that had been whispered among the stars is now clear. Humanity has a place in the galaxy, not as invaders, but as a force for good. Once seen as outsiders, humans are now viewed with respect. Their reputation evolves from that of a chaotic, war-driven species to wise diplomats and powerful protectors. Jalen's actions on Valthuris have rewritten humanity's story. What was once feared is now revered. The galaxy sees in humanity not a threat, but a promise. The shift in perception is monumental. Earth, once the underdog, is now a key player in the galaxy's future. Humanity's role as the protectors of peace and balance is no longer in question. The galaxy's leaders, both human and alien, look to Earth as an equal, an ally in the fight for the future. Humanity's story has changed forever. Earth, once an anomaly, is now part of the greater cosmic order. Jalen, the reluctant hero, has led them to this new era. And as the galaxy watches, they know that the future of the universe will no longer be written in blood, but in compassion, protection, and unity. The gardens of Valthuris now stand in peaceful silence, the air fragrant with alien flowers. At the center, a towering monument rises, the once feared sword, now softened by the embrace of time. The blade, though still gleaming, is no longer a symbol of conflict. Its edge, which once cleaved worlds, now rests peacefully among the lush greenery, surrounded by fountains that catch the light like stardust. A group of children, a mix of human and alien, walk slowly toward the sword, their eyes wide with awe. Their footsteps echo softly on the cobblestones as they gather around the blade. These are the future, the new generation that has inherited a galaxy not torn by war, but bound by cooperation. The children's faces are a canvas of wonder. A human girl, no older than 10, reaches out a hand, her fingers brushing the sword's hilt. The aliens beside her, tall and elegant, their eyes bright with curiosity, follow suit. Their presence together, side by side, reflects something greater. The harmony that once seemed impossible is now the galaxy's reality. The sword, once an artifact of division, has become a symbol of hope. And with this moment, the past wars, the past hatred, all seem distant, as though they belong to another time, another species. For the first time in centuries, the sword stands not as a prize to be won, but as a testament to the future, a future where enemies can become allies, and children of all races can walk together, united. As the children continue to marvel at the sword, their laughter fills the air, a sound that echoes the promise of peace. The galaxy has changed, and so has its people. In the shade of the garden, Jalen watches the children with a quiet pride. His face, now marked with age, carries the weight of experience. The years have softened his features, but his eyes remain sharp, reflecting a mind that has witnessed both triumph and loss. He steps forward, and the children turn to him with the reverence reserved for a figure who has seen the universe's darkest corners and brightest hopes. With a calm voice, he begins to speak, his words weaving through the garden like a breeze. It wasn't strength that lifted the blade, Jalen begins, his tone rich with the wisdom of time. It was the choice to protect, not to rule. The children listen intently, absorbing every word. His gaze drifts toward the sword, now bathed in the soft light of the afternoon sun. True power, he continues, isn't about domination. It's about the ability to shield those who cannot protect themselves, to rise in the face of fear and choose peace. His words land heavy in the air, resonating in the hearts of the children. They look at each other, then at the sword. It is no longer a weapon, it is a lesson, a challenge. The sword may have once been about strength, but now it is about something far greater, the power of selflessness. Jalen steps back, his eyes sweeping across the children's faces. In their eyes, he sees not just curiosity, but understanding. He has passed on his knowledge, and with it, they are ready to carry forward the legacy of the sword. The children remain gathered, their thoughts still with Jalen's words. The sun begins to dip lower, casting long shadows across the garden. One child, a small alien, with skin like polished obsidian, steps forward, her face filled with both wonder and uncertainty. Her voice trembles slightly as she asks, "Do you think I could lift it someday?" The question hangs in the air. It is innocent, yet profound. For a moment, Jalen is silent. The question, so simple, yet so heavy, echoes within him. Could this child, with her small frame and uncertain gaze, one day carry the weight of the sword? And more importantly, would she understand the burden of responsibility that comes with such power? Jalen looks down at the child, and in that instant, he sees not a future conqueror, but a protector. He smiles, a quiet, knowing smile that speaks volumes. "If your heart is ready," he says, his voice soft but filled with conviction, "it won't even feel heavy." The child's eyes light up, a spark of hope igniting within her. The weight of the sword is not in its steel, but in the heart of the one who chooses to wield it. Jalen's words carry the promise of a future filled with possibilities, where every individual, no matter their species, can rise to the challenge. As the children continue to stand around the sword, they are no longer just observers of history, they are its creators, and the legacy of the sword will live on, not in the past, but in their hands, in their hearts.